guys, it's Cecile, and this is Tiffany Wagner, and we are so excited to be here today. If you are new to us, thanks for listening. This is Things in My Head podcast. Like we kind of always talk about in the beginning, we will first give our handles just so you know, but most of our followers are through our ladies at Brooks Boutique, and hopefully it's reaching out, but we just do this fun podcast to get to know us on a different level and talk about things that are not specific to just shopping and stuff like that. So in case you want to follow our socials, our podcast here, which gives us the ability to talk about anything, it's Things in My Head podcast on Instagram. We also have our email if you want to email us anything, questions, follow-up, suggestions, thingsinmyheadpodcast@gmail.com. For our boutique, it is Brooks Boutique. We are a ladies consignment boutique in Pearland, Texas, but we service all of the U.S. And that is brooksboutique.com, where you can shop online 24/7. And you can follow us on Facebook at Brooks Boutique Pearland. And you can follow us on Instagram at Love Brooks Boutique. And then, of course, Brooke and I put our other business is we are Reynolds Property Group, which is a mother-daughter real estate team that services the greater Houston area. So you can follow us at Sweet and Petite Duo, and we would be happy to help if you know anyone or yourself who is looking to buy, sell, or invest in property. We kind of do both.
Many good things.
I know, so many good things. And then, of course, we have the podcast, and then we do just all kinds of things. So we have Tiffany. I'm very excited. Tiffany Wagner, we met through mutual friends and the small community that Houston really is, honestly.
Yeah.
And she is a professional organizer. We had her come out. She owns and founded Simply Marvelous Designs. Spaces. Simply Marvelous. I can't speak. Simply Marvelous Spaces.
It is a mouthful.
Yes, but it's amazing. And she already came on to the boutique Facebook page a couple weeks ago and had a great chat with all of us on some tips and great Q&A. So we couldn't fit it all there. So we were like, can you come and record this podcast and we can just talk a little bit more?
So many things to talk about. It's an endless topic.
Yes. So I'm going to let Tiffany talk about her handle so you can find her as well. And then we're going to get right into it.
Yes. Follow us all. We are
right now,
a big, small community, as Cecile said. I am Tiffany, a professional organizer, and my business is Simply Marvelous Spaces, SMS, Simply Marvelous Spaces. So you can find me on all the things, website, Instagram, and Facebook, Simply Marvelous Spaces.
And tell us, since I know this story, but we didn't say this on when we did the Facebook Live. Where did that name come from?
Oh, it gives me chills every time I say it. So when my husband and I were trying to come up with names, we had also lost my father-in-law a little bit before that. And he was a man that had so many sayings, and they were all like made up sayings. Like he just came up with all of these things that he would just randomly say or sing or whatever. And we just started trying to make a list of them because we didn't want to like lose them. And one day my husband comes home and he's like, what'd you do today or whatever? And I just start like spewing all these things at him. I mean, I was reading the dictionary. I was Googling random things to come up with a name. And all of a sudden I'm mid-conversation and he walks away from me and I'm like, where are you going? And he goes into the office where my whiteboard was, my little Melissa and Doug easel that I was writing all my things on, and he writes Simply Marvelous Spaces on the bottom of it. My father-in-law's number one saying, he said every single day to somebody, was, you are simply marvelous, honey. He would say it to the waitress. He would say it to the lady at the Walmart door that was checking, like as you were leaving. I mean, anybody. And he would say it. And I looked at him and the both of us just burst into tears.
Aww.
And he said, I'm going to write it on a little notepad next to your nightstand and my nightstand. And if we wake up tomorrow and we still feel like this, that's it.
And it works so well, right?
Works so well.
Like, that's crazy. And to be honest with you, and I know we're going to talk about organizing, but I want to give y'all like a heads up. Like, we're going to record 2 episodes together here. And we thought, because we're going to go more into that, is as ladies that kind of are alike and with our community, that you guys know my story of coming from corporate to do my small businesses and entrepreneurship. And we're going to ask Tiffany, because that's her as well, to talk about her story for inspiration and just, ask all the questions. But that is one of the hardest things is to come up with a business name that works, that's authentic, that is going to be different. And so and what people forget is it to be meaningful. Like that's where you should
funny
go.
That you use the word authentic, because I made a list of things that I wanted my business to be and represent, and authentic was one of those, because I wanted to represent who I am and what I'm trying to do.
Yes. And but Simply Marvelous Spaces works so well for both if you didn't know that story, and then when you know the story, now it's just hard to ever forget.
I know.
So anyway, it's so good. By the way, Jen is behind the scenes today, and I have to do a shout out for her, because truly she has, we get to come on here, or I get to come on here and have someone come and I talk in a microphone, and she does everything behind the scenes, which is so hard for me to even comprehend, honestly, and why I wouldn't be able to do this without her. So I have to give her the acknowledgement, because she's been working so hard. And so I just think that thank you, God, for Jen, and you are amazing. So I just had to do that real quick.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a team effort, and sometimes you forget that there's so many other things that go into it.
So many other things.
So many things.
So let me say this. Okay, we don't have anything truly planned, because we like to have just these conversations. So I try to think about it if I was you guys, the listeners. But I have to also tell you, share my story. So today, we planned this, a week and a half, 2 weeks since Tiffany did the Facebook Live with us at the boutique. And I was like, okay, come to the house. We do it on Sundays. The boutique is closed Sundays. Jen comes like every other Sunday, and we record a couple episodes to put out in the month. And so, of course, you don't think about it, because the days are so like, let's go. So then this morning I was like, okay, the house looks fairly decent. If you don't know, we record this in my front room, which is when they made this was like a formal living room, or I don't know what this was, but an office probably. But we just over years changed it to different rooms, and now it's like a sitting room, because Brooke and I would do content stuff in here before, which we really don't anymore. So we're going to make it the podcast room. And so it's in the front of the room. And I was like, usher her right in here. Look straight over here. Because I that thing that says, that thing on TikTok right now, it's like, listen and don't judge. In my mind, I was like, look and don't judge. Because as an organizer, I was like, if you look over, I don't even know if you looked over there, that my dining room across the hall is my office space. Like, my whole dining table has papers everywhere. There's boxes. It's a working space, and there's no organization to it. And then when you came before, like we just got home like an hour ago from church and lunch, and so I was like, I came into this front room, and I was like, let me look at it from someone else's eyes, like an organizer's. And so if you can see, I've just shoved everything behind there. Okay. They were all on the desk. So I was like, I wonder if she feels like, or does people feel that when she comes to people's houses, knowing she's a professional organizer, they're like, oh Lord, oh Lord.
One of my girlfriends called me the other week, and she's like, hey, can you come over and talk to me about something? I'm like, yeah, sure. She's like, okay, well, let me clean up before you get here. I was like, oh my gosh, my house is not always in tip-top shape.
That's a great thing to chat, because I saw your post, your Instagram post, where you opened one of your cabinets and you wrote the comment that this is one cabinet you are not allowed to put storage things in. Because then in my mind, I'm like, oh, then the rest of the house is.
So we are referring to the spice cabinet. In my house, I'm not the chef. I don't cook. I have a very minimal, smaller than a handful size of things that I am allowed to cook, which is not much.
Me too.
So my husband's in charge of all of that, and his spice cabinet is his sanctuary.
Okay.
And it is the bane of my existence.
There's
just stuff. I can't even do nice containers or everything, because everything he buys comes from different places. They're in different shapes. They have funny labels, funny names. Like, his favorite one's called, it's called the Greek Freak. So I'm like, I can't make all these labels for all these things. Some are tall, some are short, whatever. I really try not to go in there.
So for your own sanity.
For my own sanity.
Yeah.
And the other day, so I started this spring cleaning kind of purge of my house. As I'm cleaning, I'm like, okay, let me use my time wisely. I'm cleaning this room. Let me go through a couple of drawers or whatever. Because it doesn't have to be, we kind of talked about this a little bit when we did the live, organizing or purging or editing or whatever you want to call it, doesn't have to be this big, grand gesture thing,
time
event.
Consuming.
I'm cleaning my house. So, I'm in this room. Let me just go through this one cabinet, or, I went through my sock drawer while I was putting laundry away. Like, this was all part of the process of my cleaning yesterday. And he opened up the cutting board cabinet and started pulling out cutting boards. And he's like, we don't need all these. I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, I'm not going to push it because, like, he voluntarily did that.
Okay.
So then yesterday, I go over to the spice cabinet and I said something. I was like, there's no way you're using all of these spices. Like, that was like my gateway opening, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, well, I do, but there's just some containers in there that are reminding me of things I need to buy. And I was like, so put it on a Post-it and, like, put it on there. Why do you have 10 empty containers? Yeah. He purged the whole cabinet.
Oh, nice. I know. Wow.
I try not to get excited or, like, overly, because then it takes it away from him.
Right.
He's like, oh, we're making a big deal out of it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This has made my whole day. So it just kind of, like, followed through with the whole day, and I just
kept going.
Every room that I went to, I was like, okay, the guest room, I was in there cleaning, and I was like, okay, well, all my son's art supplies are in here. What is he not using anymore? What has he moved on from? I didn't pull everything out, but I was like, okay, let me just do a little bit, because I don't have 2 hours to commit to taking apart this whole room. But I'm working in this little area. Let me work on this. It helps to keep the fluidity of things. As things come in, things have to leave.
Okay.
Because if they don't,
it bottlenecks.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question because you brought that up, actually. So that's a great segment, because a lot of our listeners are obviously women. And, like, so I'll talk for myself. Like, I like to think I'm organized. I'm very type A, and I think everything has a place. But if you and a family member are the only main one who does that, and let's say me and my husband, because the kids, whatever, I mean, they could use some work, but let's say you and your husband. And so how in your everyday, because I'm not going to lie, I get pissed off. I'm like, why is everything on this chair in our bedroom, like your stuff, when there's places it goes?
Oh, absolutely.
And I've learned, like, and I sometimes truly am just like, I'm just going to not look at that, because I'm going to get real mad. And then when I can't take it anymore, I'm like, this is what I need you to do today, is just make that chair clean.
Yes.
Yes. But it's everything. Like, we came home from church, and he had a sports jacket on, and he put it, he took it off and he put it on the back of the kitchen chair. Now, immediately when I saw that, I knew it would be me who's going to bring it to his hanger. Mm-hmm. And it drives me, I didn't say anything, but I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I know it's a battle. This is probably more marriage thing, but how do you deal with that? I mean, what do you do? Or what do you, because, I mean,
sometimes you gotta just pop off and let people know that you're, getting crazy, right?
Sometimes, like every day. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Just laughing.
Sometimes it's just like, enough is enough. I mean, I get the one-off stuff, when it starts to pile up is when it really, gets to me. And I know a lot of people struggle with, but I don't have anywhere to put it, or I don't have a space for it to go.
I'm going to use it again. That's what he always says.
He will leave something out knowing he needs it in 3 weeks.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Put it away. Mm-hmm. Because you know what keeps happening? You leave one thing, then you leave another thing, exactly, then you leave another, and then everything is out.
So, Jen, what we're trying to say is stay single. No, I'm kidding. Jen's not on the mic today, but she is cracking up back there. She's like, I thought I was not part of this conversation today.
Some of it's everyday living, and that's the everyday living part of it. It's one jacket here, it's one jacket there. It's when you said, it's funny that you even used the word bottleneck, because I just was working on a post this morning before I left the house about this exact topic, about the bottleneck. Uh-huh. This is so funny that this is like even coming about like this. So check out my Instagram tonight when it posts about this exact topic. When things start to bottleneck, then you have this inventory issue. So a lot of times it's an inventory issue. And we talked about this, a couple weeks ago also. Think of your house as like a store. When you go, what's the worst store you go to that there's just stuff everywhere and it's like hard to rummage through?
I can't go in a Ross.
And sometimes, I mean, I love it.
But I can go into a TJ Maxx.
But there's some of them that are really nicely done, and then some are just a disaster. Yeah. I mean, even some Targets, sometimes you're like, this place is a dumpster fire. Mm-hmm. And then you go to other ones and you're like, oh, okay. It's when you walk into any store like that, when you're overwhelmed by there's so much stuff, you can't move anything on the racks. Your first instinct is, you know what? I'm just going to leave.
Ooh, Jen, this is exactly why I'm about our racks at the boutique.
Yeah.
Jen, I'm laughing. She's like, my God, woman, focus on Tiffany. Okay, sorry.
And it's an inventory issue. So then you look back at your house, and if you think of your house, as a store as well, if you are busting at the seams with inventory, old inventory, new inventory, like the old stuff, the old season, the old, maybe you lost some weight, maybe you, your life has changed. Maybe you went from being corporate to now being a self-employed, and you can wear whatever the hell it is that you want to wear, right? You're not wearing a suit every day.
Hence why we don't take suits.
Why do you have 40 suits in your closet?
Right.
That's why there needs to be this, I don't want to say constant because it makes it feel
continuous, maybe.
Continuous.
Like whenever.
And this is why I say, like, when you're putting away laundry, when you're hanging stuff up. Okay, well, you know what? I don't need these shirts. The pants. Are the pants gone?
They are gone. I have to tell you a funny story about the pants. So in the Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago, we were talking this topic about not making
hanging
it
on
overwhelmed. When you're hanging on to things. And so... And I really did take note of it, even though I know it in my mind. But, after our conversation, I really was like, my closet is organized. Like, they have the same hangers and they're by color. But there's a lot of stuff because I never get rid of them. And so and sometimes it gets messy, like right now. But I couldn't remember everything I had that actually fits and I would wear right now because it was just a lot of stuff. And so I was like, that's it. I'm taking away the pants that I will not fit in. And the funny thing is, and I have a resale shop for those, but we don't do pants. So it's not like I bring it to my place. So I brought it to, and I thought I was cooler than this. Like, they're not, it's just that they didn't fit, not that they were out of style. But I brought them to another resale shop.
Okay.
Well, one of the buy outright ones.
Sure.
Franchises. And they did not take a one. I was like, to get all the pants and bottoms I knew I couldn't wear, but since I couldn't bring it to our place because we don't take bottoms, I brought it to another like buyout, right? And I wasn't actually embarrassed. It was actually a scouting mission, if you want to know, because I was like, I wonder if this is our competition, but it's not.
Perfect.
Because they really didn't have anything that, as you've been bringing things in and that we sell on the Facebook Lives, that is like an old, like I find that a lot of these, like the franchise resale shop, if it's not a true old school consignment shop, do a lot of younger. And the thrift shopping, like the cool thrift shops even, are a lot of younger. Sure. So there's not a lot of things that, like the Loft and the Chicos and the...
I think it's also like depending on who you're following becomes, like who the people that you draw in.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah, because we'll go to who we go to. So anyway, I didn't sell any one of my pants and skirts, and I still thought they were cool. They did not. Oh, and it was so funny because I thought they were kind of busy. They were, I guess, because it was more casual. And she was like, I said, I didn't get offended because I know how other people have been on our business side. So I was just like, oh, it's just so I know, what are you taking? And she's like, well, it's just, we have a lot of business casual already. And I was like, these are shorts. No, I'm kidding. This is the cutest skirt.
So what you're saying is I'm going to take them when I leave to donate them.
I already did, but yes. But otherwise, the point is I did, and I have like now 10 empty nice hangers that I can refill with things that fit. So yeah. So anyway, I don't know where that conversation came from because
it was the inventory thing. So it's like your house it's a giant stock room, and if you are not letting, taking things out as you're bringing in new things, you get this backlog and you don't have space for things that should go, like one of the big spaces that I get asked about, or, when I go to someone's house, is like the drop zone for like the kids with like the sports stuff and the backpacks and lunchbox and, coat hooks and hat hooks, and it's like the grand central station of the house. It's where you come in and you go out of the house. It's usually kind of near the garage maybe. And if everyone's getting a new backpack every year and the backpacks are still hung there, or kids are getting new shoes, or they're getting new cleats, or they're getting a new helmet, or whatever the case, the old one has to go. If you leave the old stuff, it becomes like, it's like compounding. You have the old stuff and the new stuff, and it just gets pushed further and further down until nothing else fits.
Yeah, and I agree. I think and I don't know if this will be in your realm of scope of service, because what I think it is obviously it's not just the stuff, it comes with their background, right? Like if you were to ask me, we didn't grow up with a lot of money, so I'm not a hoarder, like, but my mom was, right? Because she came here with nothing, and so she wanted to keep everything. So I have a little bit of that, like, what if I need it? I spent $50 on that.
But you also have to think about if you have 5 helmets and none of those helmets fit anybody in your house.
Well, true.
If you have 5 pairs of sneakers and your kid has outgrown them and there's no chance that your kid is shrinking and going back to the shoes that they don't fit, you have to think like that. These kids are growing. I mean, mine's growing at a rapid pace. You have to keep getting rid of those things.
What about your stuff? Kids, I can understand.
Sure.
You can rationalize them. They're getting bigger, whatever. But what about your stuff that you have? Like how long do you think for clothing you should keep it?
It depends. I have things in my closet that I've had for 10 years that it's a classic piece. It doesn't go out of style. I wore it more when I worked in corporate, but it's still something that I can wear kind of whenever, if I'm going to a networking event or if I'm going to a luncheon or something now. Do I have newer things that I can wear? Absolutely. But you evolve as a person. Your style changes as a person as well. If you move and you now live in a place where I went through my sweater drawer the other day, I'm like, I have a lot of sweaters for
is that what you do with your sweaters? You put them in a drawer? I had a question about that.
Yes, because they're hard to stack in the closet because they're sweaters and they're really bulky and they fall over. There's things that you can buy for in the closet, but I had a drawer that they fit in. I don't have many of them. And I feel like that, drawer is not prime real estate for me. So, it was fine, but it depends on how you function as to where you would keep them.
Okay.
I know that may be a controversial topic, but I had some sweaters in there that I've had for 5 or 6 years, and I don't wear them enough to be like, oh, okay, well, I really love this. I got a couple of new ones, so I let a couple of old ones go because I don't wear them often. But with dresses, I wear dresses a lot, and even though some of them are old, they're still a classic style, and I still do wear them. So it depends on your evolution as a person as well.
I'm laughing in my head because every time I talk to you or, and this discussion, the topic you're talking about, you're like sweaters and dresses. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, she makes me want to go through everything. Like when she leaves, like I want to, you're right, I don't need it.
But it's hard, don't take it. And this is the other thing that I talk about all the time. You're thinking that, and then you're going to go and rip it all apart. And then you become that meme. Everyone knows what meme I'm talking about.
Yes, when you stop halfway.
You're sitting in the closet, half shedding a tear, saying, what did I do and why did I do this and who's going to put it back together? Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just like pick a drawer or, a shelf or a section in your closet. Don't pull it all out. Unless you're like, a seasoned vet and like, you're like, I got this, I can do this, because it becomes overwhelming. And then you're like, well, then, and sometimes you spiral. Well, now I want to change all my hangers, and now you take everything off the hangers, and now everything's not on hangers, and it can be a lot. So it can be a lot.
So let's talk about, like, I'm thinking in my house, right? Like, let's not even think about the closet. Let's think about more everyday stuff. Like, I have a storage area underneath the shelves. I have a walk-in pantry. I have, like, a cabinet that's the junk, cabinet. So how often would you suggest cleaning those, like, going through those areas a year? Or how often?
So the process is the same for every space.
Okay.
And I always tell people, create a healthy habit of doing it semi-regularly. Like, when you're putting away the dishes, when you are, when you are like, okay, well, we need new dishes or we need new Tupperware, that's the time to say, okay, I'm going to go through. You're at H-E-B, you grab new Tupperware, you're like, oh, mine's kind of yucky, I'm going to get some new. Don't just bring the new Tupperware home and stick it in the cabinet.
Oh, I do that.
Take the old Tupperware out, get rid of it. Find out, do you have lids that match all these things? If you don't, then it serves you no purpose if you have a bottom and not a top, or a top and not a bottom. Pick something small, but make it a regular habit. When you're putting away cups, and, this is a big one, and this might be a controversial
all the
plastic cups.
Yes.
Souvenir cups.
Yes.
And the water bottle epidemic.
Because when you're out and about and they're giving away free, you have to have one.
You don't need it. You don't. I'm telling you right now, you don't need it.
But in the moment, everyone's
got one. You don't need it.
Jen's laughing.
You don't need it. Walk away. Just say no. Just say no. Because what are you going to do? Bring it home?
Yes, we are.
And do what with it?
I don't know. Put it in the drawer.
All you're doing is just adding to it.
Okay,
if you bring home that cup, then you better get rid of another one.
Well, okay, so I'm going to laugh if the ladies think this. So what about like me? I'm really talking about me. So that cup that I got free, I could throw away easily. But the stuff that I've paid for, even though I don't need it, in my mind, I've got to change my mindset of this is not just me throwing money away, but I got my money's worth out of it.
Correct.
Which I know.
Correct.
But I am a hoarder. I'm laughing at Jen. Laughing at me.
But think about it on the flip side. You have all these things that you bought that are stuffed in a cabinet. How much money in real estate is that cabinet worth?
Ooh, I love talking real estate. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. No,
is that a prime cabinet in your kitchen?
Yes.
Is that prime real estate? Mm-hmm. And you are just putting stuff that you don't need or you don't use, or maybe you want to use it but you can't get to it because there's so much other junk in there that you don't need. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Think about it that way. You can't use the things that you love because all the other crap is in the space.
So if I'm listening, then okay, so there's the one step is decluttering and getting rid of stuff, and then the second step is organizing what you actually use in a way that you can see it.
Yes.
And get to it easily.
Staging it. So, I mean, certain spaces you can buy really useful organizing products, and Instagram has created this sometimes unattainable aesthetic that people want. And
yes, I want that.
Unless you live alone, have no children, have no family, have no spouse, have no animals, and that's your full-time job is just keeping your cabinets organized, it can be hard to live up to that expectation. Yes. So they suck you into, oh, buy this, buy that. And when I meet a new client, one of the very first things that I take out of their space are all of these.
So should we guess, Jen? Go ahead.
kitschy organizing products that Instagram told them that they needed.
Well, you know why? It's because Amazon, everyone has that Amazon like influencer, like
storefront.
Yes, that they're like, ooh, I need all, and it looks.
Are
so
some
good.
of them legit? Absolutely, but some of them it requires so much more work.
Yes.
Than the product actually provides.
Yeah.
So declutter is always the first step, and it's always take everything out. And I don't mean take apart your whole kitchen. If you're working on one cabinet, take everything out of just that one cabinet, because you don't know what you have until you know what you have. So there's plastic cups here with your regular drinking cups, and then you're like, oh, well, someone stuffed something all the way on the top and I can't reach it.
Yeah.
And then you pull it out and you're like, oh, wow, now I have 84 plastic cups. My line of sight is these two shelves, but then when I really go up there and I look in that cabinet that nobody can reach, I find that there was no room down here, so someone stuffed all them on the top, and now I'm like, oh, well, I have a lot more cups than I thought, and I could be using that shelf for something else. I could spread out the things that I have that I use and be able to see them. Even though it's up top, I can see on the very front, okay, great, maybe I have a couple of vases or something up there that you don't use regularly, but you'd love to use, but don't know you have them because they're being suffocated by plastic cups that you got at the table of the person that has a moving company that you're never going to use.
So, of the clients that you've had, what room do they normally hire you for the most to
all
start
of them.
with? Oh, they say, I need your help for the whole house?
I would say 75% of my clients I work with for their whole house.
And is it bad? I mean, like,
because it's this whole life transformation, you know? Usually, if you have one kind of stray space in your house, it's for a very specific reason. Maybe it's the garage, but the rest of your house is great, but your garage is just overwhelmed because maybe that's where you put all the stuff. Maybe it's just been neglected. Maybe you moved and never unpacked it. Maybe you're a big outdoors person and you've just collected a lot of things and they live in the garage and the rest of your house is great. But a lot of the times it's this, like, it goes back to this inventory problem, you know? It's just life happens. Things just start to accumulate and the accumulation snowballs so quickly. And when you don't have room in this closet, it bleeds over to this hallway, or it bleeds over into this guest room, or it bleeds over into this kid's room, or it bleeds over into the laundry room. And there's a lot of spaces that are not operating as they should because it's just overtaken by stuff. So I always do a consult, an in-person consult. Talk to you on the phone for a couple of minutes, but I want to come, I want you to meet me, I want to meet you, first and foremost. And I want to see the space. Because a lot of times I talk to somebody and they're like, you know, my closet, this and that. And then I get there and they're talking about another space. They're showing me a different space. And that space is actually the problem. Your closet isn't functioning because this room isn't functioning. You can't move anything.
That's the bottleneck,
Yes.
The bottleneck.
So that happens more times than not, which at the beginning I was like, this is so strange. She told me that, you know, it's like her bathroom. And then we get there and it's really her closet is the problem, but her bathroom is being overtaken because she couldn't put anything. I don't know, you know what I'm just talking about. But a lot of times that happens.
So let me ask this different question. Is, you know, I see people do this. Do you, like, they have a lot of bins or whatever. I'm thinking garage, closet, whatever. And I'm always amazed, but, or like, you know, pantries, like, or, you know, like all these bins. Do you think what works better? Like clear bins labeled or like the pretty bins and you just have to remember what's in it?
I love this topic.
Yeah.
Is clear function or like a fad? I think they are function. I prefer clear for a couple of reasons. It really is functional.
Yeah.
It functions for everybody. It's really good for little kids because they're visual. Like if you say, "Hey, go put this in the basket," they don't know what's behind, you know, a wicker basket. Like they don't know. If they want to, you want to create independence with them, and you're like, "Okay, put the blocks here, put the cars with the cars, and put the Legos with the Legos." They can easily do that because they can see things in the pantry. And this is another, you know, controversial topic. Do you take everything out of the boxes and put them in a bin? Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
For space or to know or what? Because I have a big walk-in pantry, and you go to the Sam's or Costco, and I get the whole big like chips and everything. And I do have bins for them that are like wire bins that you can see what's in it. And then I also sometimes will just keep the box if it's like the, you know, the box of goldfish that fits, and you can open that little opening that they have that like it's a self-contained thing. Okay, so what?
And then you're like, I'm gonna make the kids lunches today. I'm gonna pack that's what I do. I do 3 lunches at a time. And so I'm like, oh, okay, good, let me grab the goldfish. And then I grab the bag of goldfish. I'm like, oh, there's 4 goldfish in here.
Oh, meaning it's no more. You don't have enough?
Right. Yeah. You don't know that there's 4 goldfish in there because the bag, you can't see in the bag.
So then so it's taking up room and you don't have
it's taking up room. It's do you have to put everything in like one of those containers? No. Like, is it hard to put Costco-sized chips in a thing? Yes. Is there a line in the sand? Yes. But I think in a pantry, it creates independence for everybody because people know where things are. I think it creates a lot more space and functionality because the bin, you take, let's say you buy granola bars. You put the granola bars in the bin. You can see from quick, like, hey, what do I need to buy? Not, oh, there's a whole box of granola bars and there's one granola bar, or there's an empty wrapper in the box and nobody threw the box out. That happens a lot. You use something and you leave the box in there, or there's only one in there. It creates independence because everybody can go in, okay, well, go get a snack out of the pantry. They can reach it out of a bin. You can organize them and stack things, you know, with like a bag of whatever, goldfish or box of granola bars. Like, you can't stack anything, so there's no, like, you can't use your space. It doesn't feel organized. Can you throw everything in a basket? Yes, that works as well. But from a visual standpoint, you can see what you have. You can see your inventory. You can see what you have and easily do your grocery list or say, I need to make a mental note of something I need to buy. And people know where things go.
Yeah, okay.
This is the bin where all the snacks go, you know? What do you do with extra snacks?
You know what I'm impressed with is when people have those organizers for the refrigerator. I don't, because I'm just like...
Yeah,
I'm always like, whoa, that's real. Like, but to me, sometimes that feels like double work.
Yes. And I mean, I can see doing it in the pantry, you know, because when you're dealing with granola bars or dry snacks or whatnot, but when you go to the fridge, you're like, okay, well, I have this thing for orange juice, but I pour the orange juice in there, but now I have extra orange juice. What am I doing with that? I need to have another fridge to put it in because I can't put it in the pantry. Like, it's already been opened or what, you know, you can't put orange juice in the refrigerator, but like, you have to have another refrigerator to put all that extra stuff, or you dump it, which is wasteful, or you force yourself to drink it, and then you're like,
I didn't do that. So you're not a big, because I'm always think that way too. Like, I'm like, it looks very, because you follow all these reels, and I'm like, what?
And the fridge is a much more short term. You know, everything that's in the fridge, you're going through relatively quickly. I was within, 2 weeks, a life-size package of granola bars that you buy from Costco. I mean, you could go through it in 2 weeks, but you have so many things in there that are, dry goods. They last much longer. Like flour. Have you ever tried to like take flour out of the bag?
Yes, and put it in those containers.
But use it in a Ziploc bag?
Yeah.
No. I'd rather have it in a container.
Yeah.
Do I have extra flour? Yes. I have my basket with all my backstock stuff in it. So I fill things up as I need it. Once in a while, everything I bought doesn't fit in this basket. So I have a basket with extra stuff in it because it lets me get rid of all the containers. It lets me be able to organize. Everything fits. It stacks. To me, it just makes me feel so much better.
So after you are done helping someone, do you check back in with them in like 6 months? I don't know, whatever, and be like, how's it going? Were you able to keep it up? And what has it seemed like? Like, what is the results?
I check in at 6 weeks and I check in at 6 months, and for the most part, everyone,
is keeping it up.
Is on track. I'm getting to the point now because it's a little over 2 years, so it was a while before I had a client that I was like, okay, maintenance time. Are you ready for me to come back? So I have gotten to that point where it's like, okay, we need a refresh. Can you come by? And it's not as big of a commitment because I've already been there. I've already created the system. So when you have a system and it starts to falter, it's a lot easier to clean it up than it is
to start. Well, that's good. Yes. Well, this was helpful. You guys, I really enjoy talking to other women entrepreneurs. I hope you got something out of this. Definitely go check her out. Tiffany is obviously in the greater Houston area. She goes all over the greater Houston area, right?
Yes.
To help. I know we have a lot of out of city and out of state followers and listeners. Reach out anyway. You never know where that leads. I know when we did the Facebook Live, there were some virtual requests like, can you at least help me get started? Talk me through. So definitely always good to put that out there.
Yeah, even if you just follow on social media, that's a great way to learn things. If there's a post or something that you have a question, comment on that. I'm sure somebody else has that same question, or shoot me a message when you see it, because that's when you see it, that's when it triggers the well, what do I do in this situation? Just ask.
Yeah, just ask. You never know. And then so follow the pages. We'll have it all in the show notes, but Instagram is probably your main and Facebook too.
I do both.
So Simply Marvelous Basis. But if you guys know me, I can't just not talk to her about the business. So we are actually going to do a second episode that we'll release after this, which is more on the personal behind the scenes. How did she get from her corporate job to starting this? Because I know that if you're like me, or maybe you followed me, you think, I want to start my own business. What does that look like? Here are two ladies that have done it. But besides here, a lot of you guys know my story. So let's hear Tiffany's story and see how she did it, what were her fears, what worked, what support she had, and it's a great inspiration for you. So definitely watch the next one after this one too, because those are always fun, especially when we talk women to women. So all right, well, don't forget, thank you guys for following us. Don't forget to like all our pages. They're in the show notes. Thank you, Jen, for doing everything. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can reach out to Tiffany directly, or you can DM us at Things in My Head Podcast, or email us at thingsinmyheadpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you back. Bye.